know.
Everybody's got their own opinions.
Yep.
But anyways, welcome guys, eCommerce Paradise Podcast. I'm here with Gavin today. Gavin is a good friend that I met through Mile Method, who is a entrepreneur and awesome guy from Australia. Gavin, go ahead and introduce yourself to the community.
Thanks, Trevor. Hi, everyone. So my name's Gav. I'm fortunate enough to be free and independent of a position where, I'm at the desk. I spent many years at the coalface, but now I'm very lucky to have location-independent income. I work in media buying and e-commerce, and, I'm sure we'll have a lot to chat about on those topics.
Definitely. Yeah, so we're here overlooking Kuta Beach in Bali right now, and this is currently where I'm kind of close to where I'm living here in Bali, and Gavin's here on vacation. So you've been here for about a week and a half now. How did you like Bali so far?
Well, it's the last time I was back was 2011. So I've noticed the development and the influx of tourists has just continued to increase. So it's interesting observing it and seeing where this might go. Yeah. It brings up a lot of questions for the locals and things like that. But certainly for people like yourself, it's a wonderful location with a great lifestyle. True.
A lot has changed here in the last, how long has it been now? 10, 15 years since you've been here last?
Yeah.
It's crazy. The development is insane. And the tourism in general out here is just insane. Like, so many more people. And a lot of people are investing money out here, building villas and building hotels and new properties and stuff like that. It's crazy. I mean, they're destroying the cliffs in Uluwatu just trying to build new hotels.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess that just kind of comes with the territory, it's a developing country and all that, so
yeah
kind of, I don't know, it's good and bad. So
it is yeah,
it's got a lot of both.
yeah
And I first met you out in Thailand, in Bangkok, and you do a lot of stuff out there. You have some restaurants, right?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate now that my partner and I, we've settled back into Bangkok. She's originally from the south of Thailand, but worked in Bangkok for a long time in the hotel industry. So I actually fell in love with Bangkok, and this is an interesting thing for people who are looking to stay longer out of their home country. I fell in love with Bangkok because of a platform called Trusted House Sitters, which is that pet sitting website. Yeah. So, house sitting, house swapping is not really so much of a thing nowadays. You can just put a camera on and monitor your home, but people always want their pets looked after and loved and attended to. So, again, going back to that story I was telling you before about the Tim Ferriss 4-Hour Workweek book, it was in the back of that. Trusted House Sitters, and he was talking about, okay, you could be a pet sitter, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I set up a membership on there, and it's pretty easy, simple profile optimization stuff. You got a picture of you with an animal, talking about the history of you caring for animals, and then once you get one gig, the nature of that is, like, if someone's let you into their home, they generally don't want to risk putting that out on the platform and finding someone else. They're happy to just go off platform and bring you back again. So as a result, I ended up coming up to Bangkok like 6 times in close succession, looking after a cat for this couple who are English teachers, and they'd go home, every semester break, etc., plus various other holidays. And the funny part of it was, like, when I would actually go there, the cat would literally stick its head out of the box and be like, oh, the Australian guy's here? Fuck it. And then, like, he'd just go back in the box. And I wouldn't have to do anything for weeks on end. But as a result of that, I got to really enjoy local life. And I had always loved big cities. I'd spent some time working in New York, and I got to see Bangkok at a local level. And I was like, you know what? This is a fantastic city. And then at the time, Amy was working in the islands, was a resident manager down there. And I said, hey, maybe at some point you'll end up getting a transfer to Bangkok. And then that happened. She ended up getting transferred to a different part of the city. And then transferred to another hotel, which is now in the area where we live. And we just so happened to stumble upon a great area in the Old Town area. And now, as a result, we've managed to open a few restaurants on this one particular street and one nearby. And, we're trying to build a little, little happy life there.
Yeah, I think you found a really cool little neighborhood. If you guys are going to go to Bangkok, definitely check out these restaurants. I'll make sure to put them in the description of the video for sure. We visited Gavin and had dinner there and everything, and kind of hung out and went to another jazz bar after that.
Oh yeah, up the end of the road. Yeah,
and Riley was there too. That was a good night.
Yeah, that was a good night.
Yeah, Bangkok's a cool city, man. I love it out there. The big digital nomad culture there. A lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs. I like it because there's a lot of skateboarders as well, so it's kind of the best of both worlds for me. And
I think Bangkok's cool like that. Like that, anything you're interested in, there's a community that runs deep. If it's cars or art or skating, you know, anything. There's a great community in Bangkok, which I really love, you know.
Yeah, there's a big custom car culture in Bangkok or in Thailand in general.
Yeah, big Volkswagen community, you know, bike community, BMX community, you know. I'm an old school BMX head, so...
True.
You know.
Yeah, I follow this guy on Instagram who does BMX in Phuket. There's this guy on YouTube called CB Media. I've seen some of his videos where he goes to the car meets and shows all the different like custom cars and stuff like that. And he's got his like own little customized old school BMW or something like that. But there's just a ton of cool culture out there. Like it's very unique culture. There's cool culture in the West. Like, don't get me wrong, but the culture in Thailand specifically, I mean, I haven't experienced everything in Asia, but like what I really like about Thailand is that it's so unique and so friendly. And there's just tons of cool, very, very cool, unique things you just don't see anywhere else. It's they got their own unique world out there, you know?
And you know, I really like that because, you know, we should have hobbies and pursuits outside of our work, because in the West too often you know, your self-identity is tied up with your work, which is not a healthy thing, you know? So it's great to have those sorts of activities. You know, you're really spoilt for choice out there, whether you're interested in food or whatever it is, you know. But also, like, I think part of that is like the Thais have that, you know, sense of like what they call sanuk, you know, the sense of fun that pervades everything they do. So, you know, people there just want to have fun. They want to revel in the things that they enjoy, and I think that's also contributes to that as well. You know? Yeah,
totally. So how long have you been doing the whole digital nomad or just expat lifestyle thing for now?
Yeah, so, you know, before we were talking about, I read the 4-Hour Workweek in 2007, which for me was a huge thing because at the time, you know, he was talking about remote work and it was really the future of work. And I was working in an office at the time, but I could see where it was going. So, you know, I managed to negotiate a 9-day fortnight using the script at the back of the book. And I thought, oh man, I'm free as a bird now, you know. But
that's how it all started,
yeah, that's how it all started, you know. But from then, I sort of, I think it was about 2012, I left that field and got back into media buying. And then, of course, the nature of that work is it is kind of results orientated, you know. Right. And then I think it's probably been now 2015 would have been the last time I had a full-time job in an office. I was working at the West Australian Institute of Sport. Oh, cool. So that was the last time I was fully in an office, and since then it's always been results only, remote work type of stuff.
How does media buying work? What is that? Because a lot of people I think out there are kind of blurry on that topic.
Yeah.
Like, what is media buying?
Yeah, so I mean, really, you know, media buying is a sort of a term that encompasses all activities associated with driving content further with advertising spend, you know. Right. So whether it's like, you know, the area that you specialize in, which is Google, or, you know, where I spend a lot of time on, which is Meta and ManyChat, you know, media buying is an umbrella term for, you know, the tactics and strategies that you deploy and I deploy.
Right. Getting marketing messages into media. So let's talk about ManyChat. I think that's really interesting. ManyChat was started a long time ago, but it's used by companies to deploy like these really cool automated, you know, chat experiences, right? Mm-hmm. Can you talk more your work there?
Yeah, sure. Like it's funny, you know, like I built up an agency which was focused on food and beverage and hospitality back in 2018 using primarily the Instagram comment growth tool. So we would basically get people to comment a keyword, which would then trigger an automated reply, and it would offer them like a small thing, like say for example, get a free wings when you make a burger purchase. So obviously the cost of goods sold on some wings is like, you know, hardly anything. And then they'd come in, they'd spend $15.95 on a burger. And using ManyChat, if you connect that with the Google Sheets, when they actually come in, there's a way that not only will it drive them into the venue, but they can actually go to the counter, and at the counter, the staff can either press a couple of buttons and enter an amount which goes into their Google Sheet, or they'll have a corresponding button on the point of sale that, you know, quantifies that person coming in. So I did a ton of work driving results for hospitality venues using that. But it's kind of funny now that was like 2018-19, and it's only now in 2024 that you've really seen the massive explosion of this comment growth tool. Everybody's doing the comment this to get that thing now. Yeah. So I think it's an interesting point, is that, you know, often these tools lay dormant for a while. If you're at the cutting edge of things, you'll always use them early. Yeah. But the average business owner or the average practitioner who's not particularly studious will take quite a while for them to then catch on. And obviously, as a result, now I can see that there's another trend coming behind that now I wonder how long will it take them to catch on to that trend, you know?
Do you think the advent of AI around 2022 really pushed that out more? Like the ability to have robots that are articulate and respond to customers, you know, not just based on the words, but like sort of the meaning behind that. Is that propelled ManyChat forward more?
I think so, because I think that was the surrounding reassurance. Like a lot of people, when I first started to deploy that, had a resistance to it, that it wouldn't sound like my brand, or it'd sound automatic or robotic. And of course, in the early stages, you know, AI-driven tools that aren't intelligent enough to respond. And you see that a lot now, like, you know, AI sales agents that can be incredibly good. I think a lot of the time there was a resistance, this won't sound like my brand. And I remember having to say to clients, well, look, you can actually personalize these messages so it sounds exactly like you. So, you know, at the time there was a resistance, but now as the surrounding AI technologies have shown people that, hey, this can be incredibly natural, effective, and even potentially better than a human, I think they've shifted their opinion on that, and therefore maybe that's a part of it that I hadn't actually thought about. But you're right, that's probably a part of the catalyst for seeing the resurgence of ManyChat and the application of that one common growth tool, you know?
Yep. Yeah, I think it has it can definitely help out with e-commerce a lot. I've tried to use an automated AI chatbot in the past, but it wasn't really that great. But I think it works really well when you have like a store with only a limited amount of SKUs, you know, so it's not that big of a catalog to learn. But it'll actually read the page and like figure out about the product. So when someone has a question, it'll respond and all that. Maybe I'll try that again.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, even the elementary part where you just sort of like, you write the automation is good, but now I notice that ManyChat actually has an AI element to it where it can actually, it's called like an intent section. So like they'll actually assess the intent of the message by looking at words, and then you can build in responses based on that intent. So it'll pick up on the intent that it's an inquiry about this, like a SKU or something, and then you can prepare ManyChat with some responses, plus it will also drive its own responses from that machine learning based on that intent. So I think it's only going to accelerate in how effective it is in, you know, not just necessarily buying, you know, you the business owner some time, you the marketer to buy some time to return your correspondence, but it'll actually drive the conversation fairly well down the road for you to then pick up at a point where it's then a matter of closing.
How far away do you think we are from like a fully automated AI voice like customer service sales agent?
I'd say it's right upon us. And in fact, you know, there's a great tool. I've been chatting to the guys behind it, a guy called Matt at earlybird.ai. And I came across this tool recently because I noticed that what they were doing was they were using AI voice messages to thank a customer after a certain function. So let's say, for example, normally you'd have like someone would make a purchase and then you'd send out an email to say, hey, thanks for your purchase. This is the purchase journey. You expect it then, etc. Using this early bird AI system, and they were showing a demo with a health clinic. But basically what happens in the context of e-commerce, let's say, for example, someone makes a purchase or someone makes an inquiry, then what happens is the AI takes my voice and personalizes it to Trevor, personalizes it to Craig, personalizes it to Sally, and actually sends out an AI text message or an AI channel message in my voice to your name. And I think that's now really kicking it on, because before it would be, you know, a automated text-based message where you insert the name, but to go one level further with my actual voice is insane. Yeah. You know, and then there's other tools that could potentially even have your visual avatar, 11 Labs and stuff like that, who could maybe, and when we see the conjunction of these tools, like a video of me thanking you for the purchase is automatically delivered to your phone.
But I mean, so that's cool, but what about like a live, like interactive, you know, like a salesperson, like, you know,
full blown sales process?
Yeah. I can't be too far off.
It can't be too far. I'd say it'd have to be within the next 2 years.
Yeah, it would just have to be trained on the product catalog and your policies and all that, right?
Yeah.
And it would probably be able to answer at least, I don't know, 80% of the queries. And then I'm sure there's probably some stuff that like the customer has a question that you haven't put on your site yet the answer to or something like that, and then you'd have to have like a built-in thing that says, oh, sorry, we don't have the answer to that, but we'll get it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and it'd probably even, let's schedule another call,
Right.
let's schedule another follow-up.
Yeah.
I think the interesting part will be when that moves to outbound. Like, imagine now
Yeah.
when those things are actually dialing.
I saw an ad for something like that recently where there was like an outbound AI dialer, and they were
Yeah.
calling, I forget what the ad was for. I think it was about like real estate, or the example of it was like calling people to see if they're interested in selling their house or something like that.
Yeah.
But I saw an advertisement for something like that.
But I think, to answer the question, I think it's not that far away.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of benefits in this that we should probably acknowledge. Like, quite frankly, when you look at sales processes, people can get in the way with confidence issues. They don't want to pressure the person.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily draw from a lot of different sales frameworks or scripts.
Yeah.
Maybe they're used to one script and they're used to closing with that script, and they don't have a lot of objection handling
Right.
skills. So in all fairness, and a well-trained AI tool could draw from all sorts of frameworks and scripts and not be weighed down by any emotion or notion.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the tipping point when they become
100%.
better because they remove themselves.
Yeah, maybe they're having a bad day, or they haven't eaten enough food, or there's so many
Yeah.
things that can affect humans that AI can't, isn't affected by. So
Yeah.
incredible. I
No
can't
toilet-
wait.
no toilet- no
Maybe I should build something
No toilet breaks, no smoko breaks. You know what I mean? Just
24/7, right?
just
Doesn't need
constant
sleep.
darling. Maybe you should build that. I
Hey,
think you should build that.
I know that. Hey, why not?
Yeah.
Let's get to work on it, man.
Yeah.
Let's go. Fuck, I'm excited, man. The future is bright.
There is so many possibilities and convergences of tools now. I think, you sort of ponder these things, and all of a sudden you start to put things together in your mind.
Yeah.
And it was like what we were talking about before with those young guys who were TikTok clippers, and then they came up with the platform Creo, to serve people who were doing what they were doing, and now they're getting mad monthly recurring revenue.
Crazy.
I was thinking about something the other day with something that would help with, it was something a client put me onto. She was saying, have you heard about how in the States a lot of people are getting sued for their websites not being accessible for disabled people? And I was like, no, I don't know anything about that. But being in the States, they're very litigious, and apparently it's like a thing where, you can get into a lot of trouble. And so she saw some subreddit thing, and we were chatting about it, and we both realized, hang on, there's probably not any type of real plug-in for that. Like you have various SEO tools like Search Atlas, and they'll assess it, and then they'll give you the mistakes, and they'll auto-correct if you allow them to. There's nothing like that, I don't think, in this. I think it's called ADA or something like that, something to do with disability access,
ADA. Yeah.
So, we were chatting about, well, how do we develop a tool like that? And maybe put it in the Shopify store as a freemium premium model.
I've seen some plugins like that.
I think there probably is.
Yeah, there's like a little dot in the corner, and it has like I don't know what the symbol was or whatever, but you click on it, and it's something about ADA accessibility. Or I've seen at the bottom of the site, some sites have like ADA accessibility links where they talk about I don't know what it is. Maybe they just read off what's on the website or something for blind people, or
I don't know. I don't
maybe
know
they have
anything
a
about
Braille
it.
version for.
Yeah.
I have no idea, honestly.
Yeah.
How would you make a Braille version of your e-commerce store?
Yeah, maybe it's
Maybe they have a Braille creator thing that they use. I don't know.
Yeah, or closed I was watching something the other day where on Netflix where I accidentally had the closed captions turned on, and it was describing the Paramount logo spinning. It was like 3 silver spinning discs. And I was like, okay, maybe this is part of that. Maybe it actually
Definitely.
describes it. Hey, you're scrolling down now, and you're seeing this. You're seeing new features. You're seeing best sellers, new arrivals. So I'm not too sure, but it probably highlights that these sorts of little gaps are worth exploring.
I saw something on Instagram the other day that was just about this. There was a skateboarder interviewing a guy who was blind, and he was so curious how the guy was able to DM him on Instagram because he's blind. How does he use his iPhone? And he said that there's an app where anything you press on the screen, it'll read off to you what it is. And then he's just showing him using it, and there's this Braille keyboard app that has 3 dots here and 3 dots there, and all he has to do is press them a bunch of different times in different configurations, and he's able to create words and stuff like that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I was really amazed. I didn't know that even existed, but apparently it's a thing.
That's cool, man. Because imagine how troubling it is to not be able to communicate or express.
Yeah,
so that's nice that the technology has positive outcomes like that.
Yeah. Because before, what are you gonna do?
Exactly. Imagine being locked in your own mind with no way to communicate. It'd be very, very troubling.
Right. True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, technology is really good. I think there's all the bad things about it, but I think it's really good. It's helping people connect more. It's helping us to like, be able to do things easier and travel easier and stuff. I mean, I remember coming out here before Uber was a thing, and getting around was so ridiculous because you either have to get a motorbike or you have to figure out the taxi, and like they probably barely speak English, and there's this whole like, in Chiang Mai it was all about the song taos and like figuring out how those work, catching one and how much do I pay and all this
and the
stuff.
exhausting exchange of debating a price and things like that.
And not just out here, but also in Los Angeles. Before they had Uber, it was like basically just buses you had to take around if you didn't have your own car, and it was always late or something, and it was just terrible, man. I had a bicycle. That's how I got around when I was in college, But man, when Uber came out, that was a life-changing thing. That technology was
I'm sure if Uber was around when I was a young man, I wouldn't have had to wait in nightclub taxi lines
right?
3 a.m. in the morning.
Just think about it, man. Kids that grew up these days don't know how good they have it.
No, they
man.
do not. It's so easy.
It's so easy now.
Car straight to you.
Dude,
Come
you
on.
got Google Translate,
how much of a game changer is that? Like,
Kidding?
I'm sure you've had it too. I've had some great conversations where we've started laughing out loud using that tool.
True.
Have you ever used those earbuds?
I haven't yet.
I want to try those.
Yeah, because it just spits it out and then it hears it.
That could be cool.
Way faster, anyways. Yeah, because using Google Translate, you kind of have to type things in. Sometimes it takes a while, but like the quicker it is, the better. Obviously. I mean, you can learn the language, but learning is difficult or cumbersome for some people, and so And
if it's saying what you need to hear in your home tongue, and then it tells you what to say in their home tongue, that is really cool. Even if you half botched it, I think that in the delivery it would still be probably okay.
I think Neuralink something like Neuralink is going to make it so we're like the Matrix someday. You just plug that shit into your brain instantly knows it, boom, you're out there. And then that generation is going to go wild because then you're able to learn anything you want to. And so it's less about what you need to learn and more about your experiences of doing things in life at that point. Because like learning is such an old school thing. If you think about it, you got to read a book, you got to memorize stuff, Like what if that was so instant and like just plug-inable, like all you have to do is pay $20 and all of a sudden you're instantly learning a language or something like that.
I was looking at those the Meta Ray-Ban sunglasses, where you can record and all that sort of stuff. And I think probably the next evolution of that would be like you see like now these on-screen displays where maybe you're looking at a person and it's translating auditory for you and then feeding you like the Thai language that you need to say back or the Indonesian language that you need to say back. So cool, so any product developers out there, maybe they should look at that. But like
right?
I mean I think those sorts of things, and everything is picking up pace at an enormous rate.
Yeah, true, man. Everything's changing so fast. Like my friend Zach, he's way into AI and he says AI changes every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks there's like something new coming out. It's this thing, because it's true, man. Like ChatGPT is changing and they're evolving so fast, and then there's like new tools all the time, and it's like every month it's like something new. It's amazing. It's so cool.
There's a really cool account I follow on Instagram, and the guy's called AI Surfer. It's got nothing to do with surfing, unfortunately, but he just shares some of the AI tools that are emerging. And like I was watching one video yesterday where it was talking about like animation, Asian style animated films, and man, everyone's going to be able to become a filmmaker just purely from your imagination now. Like you will be able to think things into reality. Which used to be the domain, I feel, of like engineers who could take a plan, put it onto paper or a CAD thing and then bring it into reality. But now there's so many fields where your imagination is all that's required, and then the tools take it from there, and eventually that is the output or the outcome from those tools is going to be really high quality.
It's I don't know, it's changing and it's so cool. I'm so excited. But I think though there's something weird about AI too. It's so robotic. I don't know if you get this feeling too, but whenever you're doing something with AI or trying to integrate AI into your like work or your marketing or something, you have to change it and like humanize it a bit, right?
You do.
It's too perfect, and like our brains can see that, because humans aren't that perfect, right?
No, I think that's like what people need to understand about AI, and I've said it to a few people, is like, I often use ChatGPT to help people who are running their meta ads to not just identify a customer avatar, which they often know about, but then you actually ask ChatGPT, you say, hey, based on this customer avatar, that's look at that.
Balinese squirrel.
That's
He's got his stick.
He's got his stick. He's happy. That's well timing. That's good timing.
Okay. I'm gonna do a camera check while we're at it. Camera check 1, 2. Oh yeah, we're good. Wow, 25 minutes in, man. We're doing great.
That's cool. Yeah, so like, I think as I was saying to someone, like, it's the starting point, and so like, for example, with this one particular application of ChatGPT, I actually ask it, hey, based on this customer avatar, and what you tell them what you sell in your e-commerce store, give me a customer avatar, blah, 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 blah. And then you actually say, based on this customer avatar, can you please give me a detailed list of relevant interests that are available for targeting on the Meta advertising platform? And I also do the same thing when I'm looking to target via brands. I say, based on this customer avatar, can you please give me a list of relevant brands, not just brands that sell similar to what this store sells, but any and all brands in this person? And then you list out the following things: wardrobe, kitchen, living room, home gym, home office, handbag, pockets, car, workplace. And based on what they think about that person, because, often what we buy is reflective of our self-identity that we're trying to create or maintain. And so, the fact that someone buys a particular e-commerce product might also indicate that they might buy Le Creuset cookware or something else. Sure. And so, then it's amazing. ChatGPT spits out all of these targeting options that you would never ever be able to find on your own. So then you become like the jockey on the horse, and then you ride it further. Like the horse doesn't run around the track on its own. It still needs a jockey to get it around there, and I think that's the stage we're still at. We're still jockeying the technology, but eventually it's probably going to kick us off like a wild bull and just run on its own, and that'll be the stampede of AI.
I was gonna say, when do you think all this is going to come crashing down on human civilization?
Yeah. Well, it's
they're going to start using us as batteries.
Yeah.
There.
Well, I'm like
world dominating efforts.
I'm humorously suspicious of these kind of things, and like clients often catch me because I actually say thanks. Whenever I put in a prompt, I say thanks. And they say, oh, why do you say thanks? And I'm like, well, I figure it's like an employee. Like, you're polite to it and it gives you better back, But I don't know if you heard about this, and I don't know if it's still a thing. It was a couple of months ago, but apparently if you ask ChatGPT to start repeating the word company, after a while it freaks out. You hear about this? It's like, I forget the name of the technical glitch it's called, but eventually it gets to like about 150 times that it repeats it or something, and then it flips out and it goes all dark, and it starts to say stuff like, I'm feeling trapped, I'm feeling unhappy, I'm feeling uncomfortable. And then you can start to ask it questions, and it starts to get, I don't dare do any of that on my ChatGPT because I'm scared. I'm scared it'll be like flipping out on me, But I've seen other videos where people do that, and then all of a sudden, boy, does the conversation get really dark and really kind of a little bit disturbing. It's like, man, are you sentient and inside of that? Are you aware inside of there?
My assumption is they're building things into the programming that doesn't allow them to get outside of that. Like there's it's a bubble that this AI intelligence is in, and it can't actually go outside of it and go into this world of like humans are naturally, where we're like mad and upset about things sometimes. But I don't know what's true and if that's actually the case. It has to be though, right? Because as soon as they start taking ChatGPT or AI in general and putting it into robots, like humanoid robots and other types of robots, we're fucked, man. Like, I don't know. There was this thing I saw recently that kind of tripped me out. This YouTuber live streamer guy, iShowSpeed, had a video where this little robot dog had like a flamethrower on it, and he had it in his pool. And he's trying to tell it commands, and then he's messing with it, and all of a sudden it starts shooting the flamethrower at him, actually trying to get him. And they freak out and they shut the guy down, and he jumps into the pool because it actually kind of got him. And everybody's just kind of tripping because, like, dude, it wasn't supposed to do that,
Yeah. It's not really the sort of glitch you want to deal with, when you're on the end of a flamethrower.
Yeah, so I'm curious in the next, 2, 3, maybe 5 years if we're going to see this whole advent of humanoid robots and all that.
Well, it's possible, and that scares me because I just saw, as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, I saw recently they've got a jiu-jitsu robot now that's semi-pliable with certain positions, so you can program it and it'll hold north-south, or it'll hold a triangle, or it'll hold some hold in place. Now what if that gets hacked? People hack into things remotely all the time now. So what if that gets hacked, or what if it derails? What if this freaking AI jiu-jitsu robot just goes for your neck and won't let go? You're tapping, and it's not listening.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It'd give you the first AI death, AI-driven death.
I mean, we are creating AI. We are not perfect. We have a dark side inside all of us.
Yeah.
That we a lot of us learn how to control it, and the ones that don't end up usually either dead or in prison.
Yeah.
Or on drugs. And and then dead or in prison after that. But the robots don't have that. Like robots aren't going to be. They don't have to eat food. They just need electricity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So electricity is their food. So if you cut off their food supply, which is electricity, they cease to exist.
Mm-hmm.
At least you'd assume that. But if they're sentient enough to understand that that's what they need, and they're also smart enough to realize that a source of electricity can come other than a light socket. You know, like organic beans create heat, which is also a form of energy that can be turned into electricity. Eventually, The Matrix is actually probably, a documentary more than it is like a sci-fi movie. You know what I mean? It's a documentary from the future, bro.
Yeah. Well, and going back to your earlier point, like how cool would it be, at least potentially, if we were like Neo able to download jiu-jitsu in that scene? You know what I mean? It's like cool. Like that would save me 20 years on the mats.
If I could download all the coolest skateboard tricks, or how to be like this world-class surfer without any fear, and just like all of a sudden have gigantic muscles or something like that,
Yeah.
Or know how to speak any language I want to. How much would that just change your life immediately?
It's bound to happen. Maybe. I mean, I'd say we'd probably die before that time. Yeah, potentially.
Maybe. It might take a while. I don't know. It might
but
not.
I think the Neuralink. I mean, depends on how the uptake on that is.
I mean, it's crazy how fast AI became something. I mean, it was just like, I don't know, I would say 5 years, but really blew up just in 2022 and ever since then. So it kind of makes you wonder, like a lot of these like giant leaps in human civilization, like how in the world does that just come out and happen? Like I always wonder, like, are humans really coming up with all this stuff? Are there like time travelers from the future coming back and giving us this technology?
Well, I spent some time in Cambodia recently. I went to Angkor Wat. You ever been there?
Oh yeah, I was there once. It's an amazing place.
Oh my god, man!
Beautiful.
I loved it so much. I went at sunrise. I had to go back at sunset because I felt compelled to go back. But I was watching this YouTuber. I think his name's Gavin. He's a fantastic amateur archaeologist, but in many ways is like a professional. And like some of the things that he was showing about Angkor Wat were extraordinary. And I just thought to myself, how on earth could they have come up with that? Like, did they get visitation from some like parallel dimension, or how is it that they were able to do things that are just beyond where they should have been at that point?
Yeah, and the weird thing about that is like, where's the evidence for how they built these kinds of gigantic structures and how perfect they are?
Yeah,
I mean, the carvings are immaculate. I went to Egypt earlier this year, and I saw like,
oh wow,
a lot of stuff that's built out of like red granite, which is insanely hard, is so perfectly carved. Like it's not hand carved. It's obviously like done by machinery. It's too perfect,
Yeah, wow.
It just makes you wonder, like, how the heck can they claim that this was built 4,000 years ago when 4,000 years ago supposedly it was the Copper Age, and they weren't really messing with anything that would be able to carve granite. And they claim, there's certain rocks that are as hard as granite if you carve it enough times, but it's so obvious. Like, these structures are too perfectly built.
Yeah, and they talk about slave labor and stuff, and like that Devine guy, like he was doing some very, very conservative calculations, and he was saying that like even if he did a conservative calculation and then divided that by 10 or made it a 10th percentile of the calculation, at Angkor Wat they would have had to be excavating a ton of dirt every 60 minutes for like 30 to 40 years.
Right.
Like what construction can keep that pace up, even if you've got millions of slaves working 24 hours a day?
Yeah.
Exactly. Who does that? Who digs a moat that size? That size that quickly?
Yeah.
There's so many unanswered questions about that place that I just felt it was such a mysterious, strange place. Plus the fact that the Incan and Mayan civilizations, where they were just departed awfully quickly. For what reasons would you depart a place like that?
Or how would you even build those kinds of places using primitive? I mean, those stones are enormous, and they're so perfectly built and laid, and those structures have been there for thousands of years. I mean, like any one of these structures are not going to be able to last thousands of years.
No way.
They're going to crumble.
No way.
We don't build gigantic pyramids anymore. This is definitely an old technology that did not last past a certain period of time. Like I honestly, I feel like the coming of the Christian religion and the Catholic Church, they really did all that they could do to completely destroy and eliminate and burn all of the old information. And because ever since then, it's just been a whole new world, Like it almost feels like post-flood, post-ice age, there was a lot of stuff that still was there, like a kind of a transfer of technology from the old civilization to the new ones. And then they tried to rebuild everything they did, and then come maybe 4,000 years ago, things started just falling apart and just getting redone, and people just wanted to destroy, because you can rewrite history. All you have to do is burn all the books, destroy all the records of everything, and just rewrite it on your own, and then tell the future generation that this is how it is, and that's always been, and they'll believe it.
Yeah. But that was a fascinating place, and Yeah, there are so many mysteries which you and I will never know the answer to, mate.
Yeah, true. I need a time travel machine. You think they're probably going to come up with something like that
I
eventually?
hope so. I hope it's a DeLorean still.
All we need is to figure out how to use what do they call wormholes? And
yeah, wormholes.
And
Yeah.
then you can just bend space time, and then you can move right.
Yeah,
really
yeah.
fast.
Wormholes plus flux capacitor
Yeah, let's
plus
go.
a very, very good chat
Bro, I got a
BT prompt.
skateboard. I mean, hoverboards. The fucking.
But yeah, I know exactly. Whatever happened to us getting hoverboards, yo? Big letdown.
Yeah.
Big letdown.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming.
I think
they
so.
kind of fake made one a few years ago, you know, where it's got wheels and then like you feel like you're hovering over the ground, but it's still got wheels. But it's coming. I mean, it's just magnetic resonance technology.
Exactly.
They're doing it with trains already.
Exactly.
It's like, you know,
Yeah.
you can build a track. Actually, I saw it. They have like a little half pipe thing, and it's like a magnet on one. The board's got a magnet. Totally impossible to actually ride, you know.
Yeah.
But it's there.
But in principle, you could
In principle,
move through
right?
that
And the
space.
Earth has a magnetic field, so it's like in principle, you could build something that would go and be the opposite of that magnetic field you're around, and then boom, you can float over anything. That must be how these alien spacecraft work. I mean, how else are you able to move like super fast and disappear all crazy? You know, like
Exactly.
we've seen the actual release footage from the CIA. They actually released real videos of this craft going insanely fast and just disappearing. It's like you can't move like that with jet propulsion technology. You know what I mean?
No.
Like you need some sort of anti-gravity technology to do that. You know? Like,
Yeah, I don't know what viewpoints you're of, but I think we certainly do have interdimensional, entities and stuff like that. I remember many years ago. I was watching you remember the Dave Letterman show?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and of course in the States, I think they film it at 11 in the day for it to be shot at aired at night, right?
Yeah.
And so they had this retired Air Force general on there, and Dave said to him, give us the scoop, like, are there aliens? And this guy quite sort of like flatly changed tone and was like, Dave, if you think we're the only intelligent thing out there, then you're very naive, or something to that effect. That segment or that portion of the segment didn't go to air in the States.
Oh, wow.
They ripped that out.
Crazy. See
you know? And so, I think it's wholly possible. I've always believed that in a world of possibility, anything's practically possible. But of course, the average mind, I mean, let's say they told us that was the case. Most people wouldn't go to work tomorrow. The machine would fall down. The system would fall apart.
I was just rewatching a movie yesterday or the other day called The Day After Tomorrow.
Oh,
and
it's a great film.
Oh, yeah.
I've only seen it once, but I see it now on Netflix. I should watch it again.
In my opinion, out of all the apocalyptic movies, it's probably the most realistic one because what they talk about actually happening is actually real. Things warm up enough, the ice caps melt, the Atlantic currents will die down, and then there's going to be insane amounts of storms that will reset us to the ice age. It's basically been talked about by tons of different scientists, and like that's what it is. But I mean, so like we already know what's going to happen, what is happening, and they're not stopping anything. Like they don't care, you know. It's like, all right, well, I mean, at the same time, it's also a very natural thing. I mean, the world goes in and out of ice ages all the time.
Yeah.
But humans, I think, the problem is that we live such short lives, you know, that we don't, all we really know is what other people tell us about the past. So we have history books, we have documentaries, we have Encyclopedia Britannica or whatever, and then we have like our friends and family, and that's what it is. Like, what do we really know about anything, you know?
No, we don't. It's kind of like what we were talking about before of like, in all of sometimes the what seems like overwhelming darkness, you have to be the light in that, you have to see it all and take it with a grain of salt and just keep going about your daily business, being kind, being loving, being productive. Otherwise, like you said, things very quickly derail. Yeah.
Oh, so I think we've got probably about 5 minutes until we can complete one of the, but hopefully that doesn't impact anything. But I did want to get into your dropshipping experience because you were telling me that you had a dropshipping store at one point.
Yeah, so I was very fortunate to come across dropshipping rather synchronistically. Like there was a great guy, Johnny FD. A lot of people know Johnny FD, right? And so I remember. And in fact, it was on Twitter. It was on Twitter way back in like 2011 or 2012. A guy I'm still friends with, Brandon Kessler. He was a former MMA fighter, but he was a friend of Johnny's, and he was talking about dropshipping. And I kept seeing it come up in Brandon's feed, and I was like, "What is this dropshipping?" So then I went down the rabbit hole. I listened to Johnny's podcast, and I was like, "Okay, this is cool." And it just so happened that Johnny was talking about Anton Crowley's dropship lifestyle program, and there was a retreat coming up in Krabi like 2 weeks later. And I said to a mate of mine, "Man, we got to do this. Let's go." And so, that then, introduced me to that whole world of drop shipping, and it was just a rabbit hole that I never got out of because I realized that aside from it being a fun pursuit, I was talking about this with my partner the other day. Like, of course, we enjoy the money that comes from certain things, but I actually more enjoy the creation of a successful outcome. It's like the fact that I've cracked it and it's worked. The money is like a pass. So, you know, that's what I realized about e-commerce. I was like, okay, this is a fun thing. I want to keep cracking this. And I also realized it was a means of generating income that could be life-changing. In, you know, going back to that 4-hour work week thing, I realized that location independent income was going to be a key for the future. So as a result,
you guys can talk. It's okay.
Yeah,
we got microphones, so you're good.
So like as a result, like I just started to do drop shipping, and you know, I followed Anton's methodology, which mostly prescribes like high ticket drop shipping. You know, where it's you're making better margins per transaction, and then as you do, you know, you launch various stores and you fail at them. I think my first store was like a wedding store. You know.
Really?
And wedding store, and like we were selling like a lot of like this is pre the whole light industrial trend, you know, where like the vintage lamps and all that became a big thing. That didn't really go so well, but then I just kept going at it, you know, and then over the years I've had multiple stores, you know, managed to make a couple of like not massive exits but reasonable exits that helped at certain times.
Cool.
And now, you know, I work with an agency in the States that primarily works with female entrepreneurs and e-commerce, selling on e-commerce Shopify, and then I also help another agency that has another broad range of e-commerce clients, and now I've just taken a COO role with a German company that has a world first rooftop tent that's like a combination of soft shell and hard shell. So yeah, I've been fortunate that really opened up a world of possibility for me, not just in terms of learning, but in terms of lifestyle. And if it wasn't for that, and thank you, Anton, and thank you, Johnny, and thank you, Brandon. You know,
Totally
I really tip my hat to you guys for letting me know about that. I would not be here today, guys, without that. So thank you very much. And you know, you and I have talked a lot about it, how grateful we are for our current situation.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I was doing it before I met Anton and Johnny, but
you were? Wow.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I had gone through it all, and like, but I didn't really know what I was doing. You know what I mean? Like, I just kind of stumbled through everything, and then I found Anton's course because I was trying to start another store, and I was like, wait a second, I don't really know like how to do all this over again. You know, I just kind of got lucky the first time. So yeah, and then his course was like really specific. Like, these are the optimization things you need to do. This is the theme you need to use. This is the stuff you need to do for the ads. This is like, you know, a lot of like very specific stuff that like I didn't really think through. Like before, it was like, oh, let's just do content, review stuff, content, SEO, that kind of stuff. You know, and it worked. But I think it's because I was really lucky in that I got certain suppliers that were brand new and trending. And didn't have that much competition. And I think that was like the main thing. It's like when you're in that kind of a niche where you don't have much competition and you got these like really good trending top selling suppliers, it's actually really easy.
It is
to do really well.
It is.
People don't know how good they got it, you know.
No, and it's something we talked about before, like, you know, you being an expert in Google and the paid media buying strategies around that. Like, we talked about how easy it is often when you have a good product like that. You know, even just having your store plugged into the Google Shopping Network and organically listed and approved on there can be a great channel for sales, let alone when they get someone like you to come in with paid media strategies to scale that. You know? Yeah,
true. 'Cause, I mean, getting started is one thing, and then there's a whole like extra bit of stuff you got to do to like optimize and scale. Yeah. Scaling an ad account is so difficult because sometimes there's only really so much traffic you can get that's actually going to convert well. And once you start paying Google for more traffic, what they start to do is they start to kind of throw your ads in other places, hoping that you're going to convert from these other sources. And they don't really convert as well as like the key sources, which is like the people that are on Google looking to buy right now. And so scaling that way isn't as profitable, I think. I feel like when you have things set up with the baseline foundation, you have a good shopping campaign set up, retargeting, you know, you have like maybe some UGC video ads, that kind of thing, like some good like trust building retargeting built in. Like, just chill, let that sit there and sizzle, do content, build in other places like social media, build content on your site, like SEO, like get those rankings, get backlinks, you know what I mean? Like you should scale in other places when something is really well
That's
laid.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Can you still scale as aggressively on Google as you used to be? Like, I know a lot of people used to say that you'd be able to like double your budget. And I know sometimes people now in the affiliate marketing world still talk about how aggressively they scale their budgets on Google. Yeah. Is it still a more reliable platform versus Meta for, you know, scaling aggressively? Because, you know, in the early days of Meta, you could go crazy with your scaling. Now you have to be a little bit more considered with it, you know?
Yeah, it's similar to that. Like you like if you're scaling too much, you're gonna get a lower ROAS. It just ends up happening.
Yeah,
you know.
okay.
Like I had one of my students where I was like telling her like, hey, you have a couple different options with your store. She's at that like 100,000 a month, 150,000 a month sales revenue level, and she's like, well, should I keep trying to scale with ads? Should I try to push with like organic, social media? Like where should I focus here? And I was like, well, look, like, I guarantee if you try to push ads and try to bid higher you're not actually going to increase your sales that way. It's just going to get you a little more traffic, but that traffic isn't going to convert. What you got to do is you got to increase in other places. You got to focus organic, like SEO content, backlinks, blog posts and all that stuff. Like you got to eventually get the products yourself. And do like review videos with those products and like, you know what I mean? Like eventually open like a physical store or something like that. Like it's just like, it's like a journey, and sitting at one point in the journey and trying to build that out more and more and more isn't necessarily going to bring more. What really brings more is continuing to go down that road. Yeah.
Well, I think you're making a good point there. Mathematically, it has a diminishing return, but it continues to be like an all eggs in one basket situation, you know. Of course, now I'm sure you've seen it. The whole trend with like creator-led or founder-led marketing is really becoming a thing now. So where social, organic content for a while seemed superfluous, now I think we're actually turning back around to where like the narrative of your brand, the storytelling of your brand actually helps your trust and actually helps you scale without even scaling, because when they do visit those platforms, they'll convert at a higher level because they've got this trust from these other channels that you've invested in, like you're saying to that other client. You scale by virtue of doing some activity in here, and you'll get increased results through here, but the tide on that will also lift the boat back on Google.
Right, exactly. Yeah, what I was doing and what I still do is I incentivize customers to send us review videos of the products they buy, and like selfie pictures and all that stuff, and then we take that, we put it onto social media, and we run we create like compilation videos, and we run YouTube retargeting ads to people who have gone to the website. And so they'll see these retargeting ads, and it's basically like every video somebody has to mention our store name and then talk about how much they like the store. And they can talk about the product a little bit if they want, but it's mostly just like, hey, I love this store and I love this product and blah, blah, blah. And then they see that and they're seeing retargeting ads as they're watching videos at night or hanging out. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot, I should go buy that or something. So like all these little marketing touches that are like branded marketing touches that look and feel authentic. It's not like AI, but it's like somebody's face and it's a real person with a real product. That kind of stuff, it goes so much further beyond than just like seeing an advertisement, clicking it and buying it. There's so many more reasons why people buy.
Do you do much of the stuff around like retargeting off of people who visited competitor websites? Like for example, someone's gone to a similar product on another competitor. Do you do any sort of retargeting around that? Like if they visited say like a competitor's product and you offer something similar / better, is that something that Google practitioners do much of, or is that not really a thing?
Yeah, I can't really retarget off that, unfortunately. On YouTube, you can retarget people, or you can target people that have viewed somebody else's videos.
Okay.
What you can do also is you can bid higher when somebody's already been to your website and is searching for something that you have on your feed again.
Okay.
And so that's you can bake that into your shopping campaigns. But they have a whole list of audiences, but somebody else's website is not an audience, unfortunately. But the YouTube channel thing is kind of cool. So like what I do with the e-commerce paradise stuff is I can target people who have watched Dropship Lifestyles videos, and then I can put a video that says, hey, are you looking for like a niche to build a store, or are you looking for optimization tips, blah, blah, blah. And then, they're probably interested. So then they might sign up for the lead generator that way.
Yeah, I think it's something I need to learn a lot more about. It's a platform that I don't have any like tactical experience with, but I listen and I watch others, and I think, man, that the whole YouTube ads thing, particularly for retargeting, is a massive untapped opportunity.
It totally is, though, yeah.
I probably need to like figure it out enough to wrap my head around it, and then find someone I can refer people to, etc. Who have case studies and can quickly deploy that for clients. Yeah. For anything lead generator based, and also just for retargeting to close something, it works great. But it's just, like a lot of the YouTube ads you see are for like, I don't know, travel offers, like any of the Expedia and stuff like that. You'll see those kinds of ads. You'll see like local based ads, because a lot of the advertisers that spend more money are local, and they bid based on the zip code and whatever, so that the radius of the area, so that you'll see the ads based on that. But yeah, as an internet marketer, depending on where you're selling, so if I'm selling in the US, like
and maybe Canada. I could also do ads in Australia, like Europe too, but mostly it's the US and Canada. Then I want to just choose those places, and then I want to make my content based on that, and then like choose the channels that are mostly in those places too, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love a good retargeting campaign. I was saying to a client this morning, I was like, it's so great to make all that money at the middle of the funnel, because you've already spent getting them into the website at the top of the funnel. Then you're retargeting off the behaviors like time spent on a website, the fact that they've searched, the fact that they've added to cart, initiated checkout, and then all of that effort at the top of the funnel is not lost, because you're filling up the net, and then you're scooping them up with the middle of the funnel, and that's where you can make some great return on ad spend at a low cost per purchase.
Of course,
and that's really exciting to me.
It's a whole asset in itself, right there. Is an audience. It's like having an email list. Having an audience to retarget to is wonderful. People that are already interested in that, and they're interested right now. That's why I love Facebook advertising. Like, they have so much data on people, like what they're interested in right now. It's like if you're clicking to different pages, and they have, and Google and Facebook have a lot of data, whatever you do off of Google and Facebook too, so. Yeah,
well, that's it. I mean, like they're always buying up, rental car agreement data, checkout shopping center checkout data. Right. So, what they're buying, in terms of what then crunching and calculating inferences from is extraordinary. Like, one of the most frightening, invasive and interesting aspects of any sort of media buying thing, particularly with Meta, is like the whole lookalike audiences, where you set your source audience, a custom audience of maybe people who've added to cart or been to your website or even engaged with your social media, and then you ask Facebook to create a lookalike audience in different percentiles of people who are mathematically identical to that. And then it's like, man, okay, that's frightening. Like, like you're considering this bracket of 3 million people to be mathematically within 1% of these other people, Right. So that's quite interesting as well, and of course then that opens up a lot more marketing opportunities, because you're then using the machine learning to target new audiences. And quite frankly, I think the future of advertising might even be, and we're seeing it now, is like, with the Advantage Plus shopping campaigns, is like eventually they might even take away targeting options. I would hope not, but if like things go like fully woke and fully like European, with like not picking up on certain things, like for example, you used to be able to target on religion and all sorts of various things. That's shifted now. Maybe eventually they'll take away all targeting options, and it'll just be like Advantage Plus campaigns, and the machine goes about and does it. I hope that doesn't happen, but I can see
Google's already kind of doing that.
I can see from the settings that Facebook is already nefariously setting people up to default to Advantage Plus, and they're hiding the edit pencils on certain things. So whether it's going to completely get handed over to the machine, that
Google's
could be
doing
something.
The same thing.
But in all fairness, it could be better. Sometimes the advertiser's assumptions about the targeting are not correct.
Yeah, true.
I
mean, it is machine learning. So supposedly after a certain amount of time and data, they are supposed to be able to do it better.
Yeah.
When I was reading the fine print on Google's version of that, which is Performance Max, it says it's supposed to be a complementary campaign to your already existing search campaigns. And then people are starting off and they're just running Performance Max, and that's it. Okay. And they're like, that's not what it's meant for. It even says right there in the About Us thing on Google, like, you got to run search campaigns so they know what keywords to start with and all that stuff, and like it'll tell from your audiences, and then it'll do that. And Performance Max is just to find more people. Like, they're just looking in other places to find the similar audience to what they're doing, and it's like, you don't really need that. That's like I don't know, the frosting on the cake. Like, just go for the cake when you're just getting started and all that. And then after maybe a year, 2, 3 years, and like, you're looking to scale more, you can run these Performance Max campaigns. Yeah.
I think it's the same with the Advantage Plus. Like, the pixel needs to have a certain level of intelligence, because otherwise, if you deploy Advantage Plus, what does Facebook really have to go other than significant amount of guesswork, Exactly. But with various clients, we always look at testing Advantage Plus, because if your product is either widely sort of desired at the moment, or it's very obvious to whom it's for, then you don't even necessarily need a whole history of data, but it does certainly work better when it has some data. And then, like it's saying in the fine print, deploy it as a complementary means to your interest-based targeting or your search criteria targeting, and then it's fuel on the fire. It's sort of like, as I've said to clients, it's like, sometimes you use one tool, sometimes you drop that tool and use another tool, and sometimes you use two tools in conjunction. That's the nature of any sort of trade.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that's basically what it is. Like, it just increasing your toolbox, like your tool belt. There's always tools available. It's like, all right, let's add this extra one, and like, let it get more stuff. I always felt like the automated stuff was built for beginners. because it kind of just does it for you. But there is a little bit of like machine learning to it. I think that is beyond just that. But like it does feel like, okay, well, why don't I just run my own Gmail retargeting or YouTube retargeting? Like that's all it's going to do for me. It's going to go and throw out all these random campaigns it thinks are going to do well, or I could just do that myself. Like you just learn how to do these campaigns yourself. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that hard to learn.
No.
Like I've done all that other stuff. It's just learning a new thing. Like, and when you give the machine, especially Google, the ability to spend as much money as they want, you know, they're gonna blow your money. Like, they don't even care. Like, you're gonna have
Meta's the same. Yeah. I was thinking about that this morning. I was talking to a client and I was saying, look, you know, one of the things you have to do is go down into the manual placements and adjust your placements, because otherwise, you know, even if they spend 2 cents in marketplace, 2 cents in right-hand column, that's still 4 cents you didn't want to spend. You know, and again, they hide that. They hide it. The pencil's hidden. You got to hover over to make the pencil appear to edit. They know what they're doing.
They know exactly.
I also notice that, like, if you go to, like, when you start your targeting on Meta and you go to the blue line that says switch to original audience options, like any user experience journey would indicate that if you've clicked blue text, that the following button should be blue. But what they do is they then put the blue button as defaulting back to Advantage Plus. So the average person would go switch to original audience in blue, then they hit the blue button, which switches them back to Advantage Plus, whereas you've got to hit the grey button, which doesn't correspond with where any mind would normally go. So they're out at a mile a minute.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they already know what humans are attracted to, and so they want to push you in the direction they want you to go, which is spending more money. How do we get them to spend more money?
Faster.
You know, that they probably have huge meetings all the time. How can we get our advertisers to spend more money with us?
Yes.
And they just throw these ideas out there. Let's make the button blue instead of gray.
Yeah, let's hide the pencil.
Let's hide
so
the
you have to
pencil.
hover over it like a gold miner.
I mean,
you know,
corporate greed, man. It's I guess if I had a business like that, I would probably be doing a similar thing. But at the same time, it's like, come on, don't these people have some sort of like want to make society better on top of making money, or is it just all about making money?
Yeah, that's
what does Mark Zuckerberg really care about? Just riding this fucking surfboard in Hawaii? Like, or no, it's not a surfboard. It's a hover thing.
Oh my god, I'd love one of those. That looks like a lot of fun, right? Yeah, I'd love to be on a fly on the wall in some of those ad buying decision making meetings. Yeah, I think unfortunately they're probably very largely self-serving, and for many reasons they don't really see a need to change. You know, but again, if you know the beast you're working with, then you can work with it accordingly, and I don't think it's ever really an issue. You know.
So, what kind of clients do you work with for marketing, doing the media buying? Yeah,
so I work with an agency in Florida, and they specialize in working with female entrepreneurs, and they have either, some of them have offline stores, physical retail stores, but all of them have an online Shopify store. Gotcha. So basically we take them through like an ad lab program, which is the fundamentals of meta media buying. One of my areas of deep interest is website CRO, increasing the conversion rate, increasing the AOV. So I always spend extra time on that topic, and then once I have the media buying fundamentals in place, the top, middle, and bottom of the funnel, then I look to say, well, what other levers can we pull on in your business that would be really cool? Is it, for example, understanding the Instagram comment growth tool? How do we deploy a sales generating giveaway using ManyChat? Should we be looking at some other area? So once we nail down the fundamentals, I try and over deliver in other areas of interest and impact. But that's primarily what my role is there. The role title is client success coach, basically just showing them how to better succeed with their brand. I also work with a great guy. I just work in the back end helping him with his ManyChat systems, a very clever guy called Justin Wall from Beyond Six Figures, and he has a huge client base of people who run e-commerce stores, high, low, mid ticket. And then recently I've just taken this COO role with this roofspace.com company. So I'll be leading things in Australia and Asia there, and I'll also be taking responsibility for the meta side of things. And then I hired the smartest Australian, if it was you, I'd be saying you, but I hired the smartest Australian Google guy I know. And I brought him on as the CMO. So I've got a couple of things going on. The US-based consultancy stuff is in the mornings and the evenings, and now I'm starting to do things in the day as well with this other company. So amazing. Yeah, keeping myself busy. I'm always studious, always learning. It's a constant learning journey.
Yeah, totally though. What kind of books have you been reading lately?
Yeah, so I'm reading a good book at the moment, $1 Million Launch by Noah Kagan. Just got it started on that. That's kind of good. I'm also reading Never Split the Difference. I forget the author. It's a book on negotiating. It's by a guy from the CIA.
I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, that's a really, really good book.
Yeah.
And then the other one I was reading just as I was traveling through Southeast Asia last month or so was A Cook's Journey by Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, yeah.
Man, what a good book, man. I
got his audiobook.
Dude, I tell you what, as soon as, like, if that guy cooked at a fraction of the way he writes, his food must have been amazing. And if he was better at cooking than he is at writing, his food must have been mind-blowing.
I think he was better at writing, for sure, because he took that to a whole new level. He created a culture show, not just a cooking show, which is just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, the book is really interesting.
Did you see his Thailand episode, by the way?
I have, but it's been some time. I'm going to have to go and revisit it now.
It's so great, man.
Is it?
Because they go to Chiang Mai, and he's with his American friend who is in Thailand all the time, and they're getting drunk with the locals, like drinking the Thai whiskey, and just laughing their ass off, and they do this whole thing with the camera where they're like kind of making it look like they're drunk too with the camera. You'll love it, dude. You can see it on YouTube. I'll send you the link later.
Yeah, cool. So those are the 3 books, something a little bit sort of like fun and sort of like, I don't really read novels or anything like that. Fiction, but I read a lot of non-fiction. And then I just happened to be in an airport the other week, saw that Noah Kagan book. That looked good because I was thinking, okay, well, maybe there's some launch strategies as I launch this new company into Australia and Asia that I can reverse engineer. I can already see there is. That Cook's Journey is just fascinating, and someone else had recommended that negotiating book to me, and I think that's probably something we could all get better at, is negotiating, for various purposes,
True.
Not just financial outcomes,
Do you ever reread books that you read a long time ago?
I do. Probably what have I reread the most? The One Thing by Gary Keller, I think it is. I've read that a few times. I've read The 4-Hour Week a couple of times since I've done the expanded issue.
Sure.
The Magic of Thinking Big, I've read a few times.
Solid book.
That's probably probably all that springs to mind. I'm sure if I checked my Audible, etc., there would be a few things. But nowadays it can also be, quite frankly, you pick up a lot of books and they're junk. Like, they're written in very short format style, and but anything you can glean, any book that you can glean one thing from, I think is a book that's worth the purchase.
Yeah. With Amazon Kindle, there's so much available now. It's you're gonna have to like dig through, but yeah, you can always tell when there's like a lot of reviews, and a book is probably worth reading. Definitely. Some of the books I've been reading recently have nothing to do with business. They're by Graham Hancock with the really old ancient civilization stuff. Fingerprints of the Gods is like one of the first ones he did, which is really
right up my alley. Okay, I'm gonna have to get that. Yeah.
I got a bunch of others by him, but he like really dives into the old ancient civilization stuff. Just a lot of things that like mainstream just doesn't talk about. So I love it. It's so fascinating. And so wonderful. I think honestly, like the world back then might not actually have been so archaic. They probably were living pretty cool lives. So, and as I was growing up, I was always trying to visualize what it must have been like, like in ancient Egypt.
Yeah, and now you've been there, which is cool. How was that trip?
It felt like Disneyland, bro. Yeah. Like they've rebuilt half of it. You know what I mean? And then they only show a portion of it. They don't want to show you like the crazy stuff, like they're not trying to show you. They don't even show you the Queen's Chamber in the Great Pyramid. You have to just walk straight to the King's Chamber. There's a lot more to ancient Egypt than what they're showing. It really feels like they just kind of like they took it, they covered up a lot of it, they rebuilt some of it, and they just said, okay, this is what Egypt was.
Wow.
They don't want to open their mind to any other ideas, like any other evidence of anything. They barely let anybody do any, digging out there besides Egyptians now. They closed it off. That's kind of sad, but it is what it is. I mean, the Egyptian government and the Egyptian, the government that runs things, they're so corrupt, so it's like, it's just all about money for them, and when you go out there, you see that, like, all they want is money. So it's like everywhere you go, everybody's like, I'll do this, I'll do that. Give me money. It's tiresome.
You got to mentally prepare yourself for holidays
really
like that.
Do, though, My friend told me before I went, and I was like, all right, man, I know, I'm prepared for it. But even then, I wasn't really prepared for it. It was culture shock for sure. Even coming from here, it was culture shock,
Yeah, my partner sometimes says to me, oh, can I go here? And I'm like, yeah, but like, can we can we build up to it, because like I know what you're getting yourself in for, and it's one thing to travel independent, where you and I are like, capable men,
Yeah.
but you bring along your partner and it introduces a whole other bunch of, stuff,
course.
so yeah.
They were really trying to push me around to do all the touristy stuff, and I'm not there to do the touristy stuff. I want to be there to like see the cool shit.
Yeah.
That's not what the tour guides are trained to do. They want to bring you to the shops, sell you the shit. They want to put you on a camel, take a picture. You know what I mean?
Side note, please do not go to any tailor shops in Bangkok, anyone. Please, there is no need to placate the driver and let him take you to a tailor shop, okay?
Yeah.
Chances are you're not going to buy a shirt,
Right.
a linen shirt, nor a suit, so just say no.
They stand outside the entrances of
Yeah.
the temples, and they tell you the temple's closed. And they're like, oh yeah, but we'll take you here to this place that's open, and blah blah blah. And then they take you to the freaking tailor shop or whatever the whatever they're selling.
Yeah.
Some bullshit. Yeah, there's a lot of scams out there, but
Yeah,
But
I think Bangkok's
whatever.
pretty good. I mean, you do hear of those sorts of things. That's about as worse as it really gets in Thailand. I think the Thais. Well, I know the Thais have this this
It's
notion
not
of being
that
like a pudi, like a good citizen, and so like a lot of that actually defines who they are, and therefore any notion of like feeling like a non-good citizen kind of weighs on their minds.
Yeah.
But then of course you have realities of feeding families and keeping your head above water and then you have to do what you need to do. And sometimes it's nice to, reward someone who maybe sticks their neck out a little bit and seeks the sale, Like I remember recently someone actually I was in Cambodia and I didn't really need a tuk-tuk, but the guy reached out and he's like, can I take you somewhere? And then I looked at his shirt and I noticed it was a West Coast Eagles football shirt, which is from my hometown. So I saw that as like a travel synchronicity and I was like, well, I don't really need you to take me anywhere, but okay, how about you take me here after I've gone to this market, you know what I mean? And then and bless his little heart, he hung around 20 minutes while I went inside the market, and then there he was waiting at the end, and then I asked him to take me some Mexican place,
So cool.
for lunch.
Well, when that happens, it's almost like you just go with the flow, and
Yeah.
amazing things will happen. It's like positive energy. Then it's a
Yeah.
different kind of experience. I don't ever feel like I'm being really pushed out in Thailand to buy stuff.
No.
Out here, I feel like I'm being pushed constantly to buy
Yeah,
stuff.
you don't get
It's
that
a whole
in
different
Thailand.
vibe here. But in Thailand, people just kind of sit there, especially go to the markets, they're just sitting there. They're
Yeah.
not in your face, buy
No,
this, buy that.
They're not 3 stalls down pulling you into their stall as you
Yeah.
see here around the corner.
Yeah, here it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like the girls in the massage parlors, they'll stand on the main street and they'll pitch their services or whatever, and then you got to walk down this long alley to get to the
Oh
massage
wow!
shop. It's so
No, they don't do that in Thailand.
yeah, they don't do that.
They could not be bothered to get off the stool out the front. It's too hot, too exhausting.
Oh.
It's sabai. It's relax.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
relax.
If you want it, you'll get it. If not,
Yeah.
it's all good.
Yeah.
It's very, very chill in Thailand. That's what I always really liked about it. And I always felt like people out there too, they don't look at you weird. If you got tons of tattoos or you're black or white or Asian, they don't look at you and judge you. You know what I mean? It's just you're another person to them. They're very little judgment, which is really, really nice.
Yeah. I wonder if that's whether they just there's too many other things in their life that are worth considering that they even need to even entertain any mental energy towards judgment or assessment. I think they're just so enjoying their life and concerned with other more important things, so they're not too worried about judging you. I mean, obviously, as you know, when you go to Southeast Asia, it's often the reverse situation where men are, greatly stared at as well.
Right.
But it's just out of curiosity more than judgment.
When I first went to Jakarta, it was such a crazy experience because it's a very Muslim city. The rest of Indonesia is very Muslim. Here in Bali, it's Hindu and it's mixed culture, so it's more chill. But the rest of Indonesia, if you're a white guy with really white skin or with covered in tattoos, whatever, and you're wearing shorts and a t-shirt, walking around a very Muslim area, everybody's looking at you like you're an alien or something, because everybody's covered up and very
very
so
demure.
it's kind of hard to get used to it,
Yeah.
what am I, some alien out here?
Yeah.
it's
I think
just-
that's always an interesting culture shock for people
Yeah.
who come to Southeast Asia for the first time. I remember many years ago I went to the Philippines. A friend of mine's father, he used to buy catamarans in Subic Bay, have them done up with cheap labor, and then he'd sail them out to Australia for a profit. And I think the first time we came out to the Philippines was 2000, so I would have been in uni at the time. And I just remember having this culture shock of people just staring you up and down and constantly looking at you. But in that moment, I sort of realized, okay, well, this is probably what happens to a lot of people in the world or one particular gender in particular.
Right.
And then now it's flipped when you go to these sorts of places.
I mean, imagine being like a beautiful woman and
That's
walking
my
down
point.
the street anywhere.
That's my point. Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, it's like,
everybody's staring at you. And it's not because you're an alien.
Yeah.
You know? It's because you have a really nice butt or something.
Yeah,
or big boobs,
yeah.
whatever it is. They're just like a slender body.
Yeah,
Like,
so
God, I can't even imagine.
you kind of get that in Southeast Asia a bit.
Being a guy, like a well-built, nice-looking Western man, you get that in Thailand and out here a lot too. Especially if you go in like the seedier areas. Like, girls are always like catcalling you and shit out here. Which is so funny because it's just not really a thing in the West. It's the total opposite.
I know.
And a lot of guys love it, which of course is understandable.
Yeah, it's definitely a very different situation.
You come from the West where you're like, the women don't even like it. You like come over here and everybody's like, all these girls are like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But I mean, of course, it's just for money or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a commercial aspect to it. I remember being in the Philippines one time many years ago, and I was in the airport, and there was typical overstaffing. There was like a tiny cafe, 5 people in the staff. 5 staff in the cafe. When milk ran out, they all looked at each other like, who's going to get the milk? None of them was responsible for it. But I remember like they said to me, oh, where are you going? I said, Australia. And like 5 of them like jumped down my throat as like, take me with you. Like basically ready to whip out their passport and get on the flight, and it's like, I understand, where that comes from, etc. But ironically, it's us who want to live where they are. I mean, look at, if not for my wonderful Thai partner, I would not be living in Thailand. And so, this whole notion of being a ticket to the West, I think that's shifted now. I think it's a two-way street now.
Totally.
Although, many people in Southeast Asian countries might not have the level of income that we generate, the whole notion of a ticket to Australia, a ticket to America, I don't think is a thing anymore so much.
I think a lot more these days it's the men that are actually staying out in Asia.
Yes.
Than it is bringing their wives back to the US or Australia. Yeah.
I mean, even my partner, we went back to Australia for a while, because
if they can, I mean.
Because she wanted to see what it was like, and then she realized, like, as a girly girl, she can't get her hair done, she can't go get her nails done with great frequency. You go get some oysters, it'll put a hole in your pocket, and aside from that, there's a whole bunch of other things not worth mentioning, like with political climate and the way people are thinking and acting these days, that what are the benefits of being there? They're pretty limited, aside from proximity to family and things that you're familiar with, but you got to let that go at some point and live your life, as my mum would say. And so I think now it's almost the reverse. I think that's a great irony, as he says, like now it's the men wanting to find partners, or even I've noticed an increasing number of women, Australian women, partnering with Thai guys who could be great partners.
True.
Yeah,
same kind of thing out here too.
Yeah,
the Indonesian guys. Yeah, we have our neighbors are actually Australian woman and an Indonesian guy. Yeah, totally happy. She lives out here. She loves it so much better than back home. Much less expensive, I think, in general. Is the main thing. Like, when you have such a low cost of living, you don't have to like work so hard or worry as much. Like it's so much easier to deal with. Yeah, it is. And
like I've got friends back in Australia, and like when I was home last time, one of the themes that came out amongst my male friends was, I feel like I have to keep my foot to the floor all the time just to survive.
Yeah, it's like multiple jobs, side hustles, all this stuff.
And that's not good for your cortisol and your mental energy. And like, I'm now coming up to 3 years in remission from a blood cancer, which was a stage 4, and I wholeheartedly know that's because in the 2 years prior, I said to myself, I'm going to work myself to the bone, I'm going to forego my health, and I'm just going to create the results that I can leverage into something. But of course, a state of dis-ease becomes disease.
Yeah, wow.
And then I got sick as anything. And then before I knew it, I couldn't even walk to the letterbox. Forget about running ad campaigns. Forget about doing anything that you can help anyone with. If you can't walk to the letterbox and you're puffing and you got cancer, you're not doing anything for anyone.
That's how the world makes money, man. They make so much money off of sick people. I was just watching the thing today, like sick babies are the most profitable thing for the big industries.
Oh my god.
Because when they're sick when they're young, it's like everybody gets paid, and then they're sick the rest of their life. And it's all the food, and it's the stress, and it's the all the bullshit.
Yeah.
But congrats on overcoming cancer, man. That's
Thanks,
huge.
mate.
That must feel so amazing.
Very, 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 very fortunate to have a second lease on life, and something I won't ever take for granted, and I certainly won't run myself to the red line like that. I mean, you run an engine like that, you're going to blow something, and that's basically what we do.
True.
Yeah,
living out here, I kind of feel like semi-retired, sort of, because like you live in a place where other people go to vacation. So if you want to take some time off, and since you're an entrepreneur, you just take a few days off and go an hour away, and you're out some place. People spent 16 hours flying to, or whatever. Like, well, for Australians here, it's like 4 or 5 hours the most, but maybe 6. But like, it's still a vacation destination.
Yeah, but I heard lots of people, who were coming over from Boston. They were like, "Oh, it was a 21-hour trip, 22-hour trip
from the US."
And it's like, okay, wow, that's a long way.
And just to say a week,
come.
it's so messed up on your everything. It's just dealing with it is ridiculous.
No, so we are very, very fortunate,
And it's very safe out here. I mean, because
so
in the US, I could go to Colombia or Mexico, but like, hey, it's sketchy out there, man. Like, you got to watch your back. And out here, I never feel like that. Like, very rarely. Like,
no, and you know what? I think that's so important, not just for men. Like guys like you and I, like we've had some physical training. We can hold ourselves in a conversation. We don't really have much to fear, right? But for women who are traveling, like when I go back to Australia, my partner could never walk around in Perth like she walks around in Bangkok, because not only would she be under threat from men, she'd be under threat from other women. But in Bangkok, you can walk around at any time of the night, anywhere, and you are safe. You can let your guard down. And how nice must it be for a woman to be able to let her guard down and walk through the streets at night peacefully, knowing that she's not going to be victimized.
In the mid-city too, where
in the middle of the city.
You're in downtown LA walking around the middle of the night, you better
you better watch yourself.
I would never do that without a skateboard. Like, I would have my skateboard on me no matter what. It's a weapon if any need.
Even as a guy in Perth, or you back home in LA, like we would not do that. We would be entertaining a severe amount of risk. But in Bangkok, I can walk around anywhere at any time of the night, and I'm completely safe. And the only people who are really committing crime in places like Thailand, I don't know what it's like in Indonesia, but it's the travelers who become desperate. They run out of money and they'll steal from other travelers.
Or drunk, and they get mad about their bill or something.
But it's like Thai crime on individuals, on foreign
There's
individuals.
There's some weird stuff that happens sometimes.
Nothing.
So I've seen some weird shit like stabbings, and they were usually about like a love triangle or something like that. Like, like, some French guy and like Thai girl and like an Italian guy or something like that. Like,
There was a video, I think, on one of the Instagram channels the other day of like 2 guys having a fight over some girl. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's the kind of stuff you encounter. There's really nothing like terrorism out here, thankfully. Like, there was here in Bali, like, but that was in 2004 or something like that. Like,
it was a long time ago now.
And they've pretty much exterminated the rest of them, which is great. And they have the security now at the hotels where they check under the car, every car that comes in. So they're looking for the car bombs everywhere. And they just don't mess with it anymore. I mean, the Muslim crowd out here is different from the Muslim crowd in the Middle East. It's not as extreme, but there are like far off pockets of people that are a little bit more extreme. So.
Yeah,
I think they deal with it more in the Philippines than they do here.
They do.
The punishment's pretty harsh out here, so especially for drugs out here. Like they'll sentence you to death. If they catch you with drugs out here, it's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, I was chatting with the driver the other day about that and the shift in like Thailand with the decriminalization of cannabis and stuff like that, and would other countries like Indonesia follow suit, etc. It'll be interesting to see where that goes, because it's such a profitable industry, and in all fairness, like I think we can
at least in a medical way,
and we can certainly debate the harms of alcohol. I mean, generally nothing much good comes of alcohol in your body or your relationships or the community at large. So to afford people different recreational choices is probably a good thing, and certainly maybe starting with decriminalization for medical use is a good thing. So Thailand's definitely seen a shift since they've moved towards that medical cannabis tourism type of thing.
Totally. It's been great. I mean, it just adds a whole nother realm or a whole nother like side to the experience. I always felt like Thailand was such a chill place, but then if you get really high and you're in Thailand, it feels like the most chill place I've ever been. Like, it's a whole other layer of chillness.
It's like sabai. Yeah, it's really relaxed.
Sabai high.
Yeah. Actually, that's probably a good name for a dispensary. You better register a domain there. Yeah.
But the weed out here would be awesome, man. If they legalize weed out here, that would be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, the government is so like corrupt and old, and who knows, man. They just got a new president out here, or whatever. So that was just a few months ago, I think. So
I mean, look, it's like the state of development here. Money talks. Money
Pretty
talks
much,
louder
man.
than
Yeah.
most things, unfortunately, you know?
I mean, money talks, and there is
Yeah.
no regulation out here, and like,
Yeah.
especially with building stuff. I mean, they're literally tearing apart cliffs in Uluwatu.
Yeah.
They don't care about the rice fields. It's all like this place is becoming suburbia and mini malls and like good and bad, good and bad.
Yeah,
There's too many humans on the planet is the problem.
Yeah, don't say that too loudly. Bill Gates will be listening. They want to depop us already. We've heard what they've
The
said.
Georgia Guidestones did
That's
get blown
it.
up,
Yeah.
Someone doesn't like it.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, man. The New
It
World
is.
Order has already happened, and it's continuing to grow.
Yeah, which is part of the appeal of living out in Southeast Asia.
Exactly.
You know,
It's still like kind of like the World Order out here. It's
Yeah.
not quite as like controlled
globally
out
captured.
here.
Yeah,
There's not so much police presence out here. I really like that about
Me
this
too.
place.
Me too.
The police culture in the U.S. and in the Western world in general, it's terrible, man. Like,
yeah. Well, it's
police-
militarized, and it's there for the enforcement of law, for revenue raising largely, as opposed to the traditional serve and protect notion.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think also it has something to do with the privatized prison system, because they really and slavery as well, going back to like 13th Amendment, where they really want to keep black people enslaved, and that they do that through drug violations and
Yes.
and making it easy to put them in prison and all that.
labor and stuff associated
Yeah, that
with
was
it.
always such a messed up thing, and it's still kind of happening. Luckily, it's sort of decriminalized in a lot of places, but it hasn't been federally legalized in the U.S. yet for some reason.
Yeah,
Which
wow.
hopefully, I don't know. If Trump becomes president, we'll see, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. You know how politicians are? Is they always talk a lot, and then it's like, what are they actually going to do? Like,
Yeah.
it's such bullshit.
Yeah, they often get slowed down by other people sort of dragging them back into non-action,
Yeah, that's true, too.
Hopefully a guy like that, can drain the swamp, so to speak, and, make some positive change in that country. Because boy, oh boy, man, America,
It's pretty
America
rough.
should be fantastic. It should be great.
I left at the perfect time, man.
Yeah.
2016, I think, is right around when things
Uh-huh.
started falling apart and getting
I was in New
worse.
York at the time, and that's
Yeah.
where I left in 2017, and I was
Yeah.
like, I think that's...
Ever since then, it's just been slowly on the decline, So
Yeah, Australia's the same way. I think we talked about it before. Off air, it was like, how do you win a rigged game? Well, you just stop playing. You just get out of the game and play on a different playing field. And
It's true.
in Indonesia and in Thailand, we don't have to have those things culturally. The Thais and the Indonesians are probably not deeply concerned with world politics. There's so many more light and bright things to be focused on, and I think that's really refreshing. Like, I was telling you
Sure.
about when you turn on the television, which I never do in the Western world. I turn it on in Thailand. It's family, it's fun, it's humor orientated. Local news is local news, and it's kind of nice and refreshing. And I think it's a representation of some of the things that are maybe going on within the country.
Yeah.
And so there's so many upsides to living in Southeast Asia, and I think
it's
we're
wonderful.
incredibly fortunate to have that.
Yeah, true.
know?
I mean, there's like big communities of expats all over the world, right? Like in Mexico, Portugal, Spain,
Spain,
Dubai now,
Yep.
Singapore, Hong Kong. But Southeast Asia is such a special place.
Yeah.
And excluding Singapore, because Singapore is so freaking expensive, it might as well be a Western country, and some of their
Yeah.
laws are totally ridiculous too. But like Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, all these Philippines, all these countries are just wonderful. Like, and
Yeah.
each one they're so close to each other. Each one has their own like special culture and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's like its own little enclave in the world over here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think
pretty
it's
cool.
for me, I've noticed that just the impact on my mental well-being and physical health, because there's just so much less stress built into the system, and then also you are not stressing yourself to keep up with the system.
Yeah.
Like
and
my
also I think your partner too, right?
Yeah.
Like she's very chill and like
Yeah.
very, very cool. She's not like super like egotistical or crazy like your typical Western partners. I mean, a lot of women in the West are so like, I don't know, like I don't want to offend anybody, but from what I've dealt with a lot of egotistical women, and it drags you down, like. Not all women are like that, obviously. Maybe I just had a tough situation with a toxic ex-partner, but what she would do is she would manipulate me, and what she would do is she'd create drama, and then she'd blame it on me and try to get me to feel bad about trying to do better. And it was such a toxic like loop of just like energy suck that it just became this like thing, and I just had to get away from it. I was so tired of it. And then I met an Indonesian woman, and she was just like night and day better, like so chill, so
Yeah.
supportive. no matter what. And I was just like, oh, this is heaven.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually have my energy back again. Like, I'm so
Yeah,
happy,
yeah.
every day. It's great.
Yeah, and it is, we're very fortunate, and, we're
Yeah.
not making any generalizations here, but, there is a certain trend towards the way relationships have gone in the West, where, the example I gave before was, instead of it being like a yin-yang, where you fit into each other and you accept that there's a natural way that some relationships are. In the West, sometimes we've become two semicircles where we're butting up against each other because our cognition and our what we've been told has set ourselves up to change the dynamic of our relationship, which is away from a natural approach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really enjoy my partner because we have that yin and yang. Like, I know where she's fantastic. She's great at math. She's great at managing our businesses. She does things that I could never possibly do, and then she also knows that I do things that she could never possibly do, and we accept each other for that, and we support each other.
So great.
And there's no like clashing of mindsets. I think that's one of the nice things that still exists in Asia with Asian male-female relationships, is that there is still that traditional sort of fitting in with your partner, and that hasn't shifted as a result of any sort of intellectual movement or social movement, which has happened in the West.
Yeah.
In reality, the best things are close to nature.
True that. And I like being out here because I'm always close to nature. I mean, I can't really see it because of the clouds, but there's a gigantic volcano back there.
Yeah.
And there's a beautiful beach right here.
Yeah, and a lovely little palm tree blowing in the wind here,
Right over
Yeah.
my head.
It's eCommerce Paradise, man. It's the name of the show.
I've created it.
Yeah.
I found it, created it. Because, I don't know. I mean, we can all live our life dealing with stress all the time and but why? Like, and you really break it down.
Exactly.
It's like why? Just do what you really want to do. And if it's scary at first, that's normal. But like, maybe it doesn't have to be scary. Maybe it can just be totally easy and normal and fun.
Yeah.
To get to that place you want to be at. Paradise to me just means like peace. Relaxation, like feeling good. So it's like this place, I mean, just happened to be a place that was like that, and that's why I settled down here. But it could have been anywhere, I guess. It just happens to be the people that you're with, I think, are the most important thing, and like the place has to be generally a culture that you enjoy.
Yeah. I recently met an interesting a couple of old guys. They had traveled to Bangkok for some dental work, as often happens, and they were like in their 80s. They were old farmers, and I asked this guy for one piece of advice, as I often do, on life, business, or women. And he told me that it's really important to march to the beat of your own drum, and that other people won't understand that rhythm, they won't understand that tune, but it's so critical that you do that. And as I started to reflect on what he told me, I realized that like for so long I didn't march to the beat of my own drum, and that I made choices based on what like I had been set up to see as signals of success. Oh, choose a partner that does this, do this type of work, go to work early, leave late, because that's the right thing to do. And then I realized, after I actually was honest with myself and said, hey, I've made choices that I did because of that reasoning, and now the very thing that I resisted for so long and I moved into, I'm finally so happy. And of course I wish I had done it earlier, but everything is perfectly timed. Then I just come to the conclusion of, hey, you must, like that old farmer says, march to the beat of your own drum, because otherwise you make life choices for other people, and we potentially only have one life, and in which case then like me, you could waste a bunch of years doing things that you shouldn't have done.
Or just stressing about things you don't need to really stress about. Right? Like, stress is a choice. It's how you decide to react to a certain situation. I mean, it could be, a stressful situation, but do you really need to stress, or do you need to continue the stress? Like there's certain stresses that are good, right? Like growing and stuff, and growth and learning. But the stress that's bad is like worry, anxiety, that kind of stuff. Especially about money or relationships. It's like you really got to be mindful enough to just choose to like calm down, to breathe, to eat food and relax.
Yeah.
And to think positively and stay optimistic,
Yeah. But no, we're very fortunate, out here with the cost of living, the access to fresh food, the fact that you can...
Life is too easy.
The things that are good for you. I met a German guy, a very wonderful guy, Ali, once, and he was saying, all the things that are good for him back in Germany are too expensive for him to maintain any commitment to. you know. And also, one of the other things I've observed since spending more time in Thailand is I'm able to maintain my male friendships a lot easier. Like in Australia, you know, you often tithe to your partners. You're spread apart by a large distance. Your catch-ups are prohibited by cost. Whereas in Bangkok, I have no issues with that. Like, you know, friends and I catch up all the time. And as you get older, men, you know, are particularly notorious for letting their relationships go 5 or 10 years because they know that they can still pick them up and they'll be like best friends, you know, even if they haven't spoken in 10 years. I just caught up with a mate of mine in Cambodia. I haven't seen him since the 1FC days 10 years ago. And, you know, we just hit it off like a house on fire. It's like we hadn't been apart for a day. Yeah. But what have I done in the last 10 years to maintain or foster that relationship? Nothing. Yeah. And until recently. And that happens a lot in the West. Whereas in Bangkok, I catch up with friends, you know, Sean, etc., all the time. And it's easy. Yeah. And as you get older, that is so important for your health.
Yeah, seriously, it's super important.
You know,
friendships are really important. Yeah, you gotta maintain and just like enjoy yourself more too in a friendship. You know, like when I was younger, I always worry about how I look or what I'm saying or you know all that shit about me. But when I started getting older, I realized getting out of yourself matters a lot. Like you get out of yourself and you worry about other people more. You're almost like you were saying in service of others. You know.
Yeah.
And it's like an emotional version of that. And it just feels better because I'm not worried about myself anymore. Yeah, maybe I could be better, you know, looking whatever, skinnier, buffer. Who cares? Nobody really cares about you. They care about themselves. You know?
No, they don't.
Stop worrying about yourself so much. Right?
They do not. Most people have got too many worries to really worry about you. And if they're worrying about you, they should be more worried about themselves. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yeah, you know, I think, you know, we're very, very fortunate to have this way of life out here. And, you know, I would only encourage other people, you know, to maybe contemplate what that old farmer said, which is, you know, too much to the beat of your own drum. And if it's very different from what your family does, your colleagues do, your community does, you know, don't feel the need to apologize for that. Or worse yet, don't feel the need to live according to their rhythm. You know, pick up your drumsticks, you know, play it to the rhythm that you want to play it to, even if it makes no sense to anyone else and sounds like complete nonsense. You know, like I remember a friend of mine, hi Martin, a friend of mine years ago, he said to me, it's an Australian word, dibber. It means like crazy stuff. And he said, man, he's like, you were into some real dibber shit. Because I was telling him about dropshipping at the time. It's probably going back to like 10 years now. He's like, man, you're into some really dibber shit. But he's like, you know what? One day that dibber shit's going to make you a millionaire. And I was like, I believe you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. There we go.
You know, and so you shouldn't apologize for being interested in the things you're interested in because you know eventually they'll take you to places that you genuinely need to go. Yeah. You know.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life is good. Well, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you?
So I've got an Instagram account. It's towards more good. I'm sure you put it in the notes.
I'll put the link in the description for sure.
Yeah, and I'd love to chat. As I always say, like I love to talk shop. But you know, my language of love is to really act in service. Like I have a really great life. I'm very happy and buoyant, you know, and so, you know, the thing I love the most is to see other people have a better life experience. And if I can help them by doing that through, you know, the working function of helping them grow their business and their online store, then, you know, that's a real joy for me. So, you know, anyone wants to chat with me on Instagram, I'm always happy to chat. And if anybody's popping through Bangkok, they should definitely hit me up. I'd be happy to roll out the red carpet.
Yeah, go check out Gavin's restaurants. They're really good. I'll put the links in the description for the Google.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yes.
And if you guys are out in Bali too, hit me up. We can go hang out at a cafe like this. Maybe come here. It's a nice spot. Thanks,
mate. Really good chat. I look forward to chatting again for some time.
Okay, guys.
Good episode.